Alrighty, so recently there was a press conference update posted in an article for gamer.com in Taiwan, and they did some coverage of Chaos Nightmare and talked with the game director. So I'm going to be going over the article. I can read Mandarin Chinese, but I do not like reading traditional non-native speaker, so I copied it all into ChatGPT, but I'll put the link here in the description if you want to read it yourself. It's I broke it up into two parts, one for the main text and then also for the Q&A at the end, and we're going to go through together, and there's a couple of fun things to pull out of it, some stuff that we already knew, but a couple things to discuss, so we'll just go over quickly. The first Chaos Dreamland, they write it funny in Chinese, so it comes out as Chaos Dreamland instead of Nightmare. And yeah, they have some well-known cosplayers, blah, 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 blah. Pre-reg numbers hit 2 million. Again, they make it up, so I'm not surprised that they hit 2 million. They focus on 2D. We knew all this. The first thing that Mr. Kim, the game director, emphasizes the game type is that each play session lasts over 10 minutes. So in your Chaos runs, they're supposed to last about 10 minutes, which is nice that you don't have to commit too much time. I know you can quit out at certain points, so it's not the end of the world if you have to leave in the middle, but they're aiming for 10-minute sessions. Blah, blah, blah. Attempts to push the limit of the genre. Repetitive experiments can diminish enjoyment. So they're working really hard to make sure that it feels fresh each time, which is possible. We've seen it with Slay the Spire, Darkest Unto. We've seen it with certain other types of games in this type of genre. It is possible, but it's very hard to do, especially in the gacha world, where you just have a different player base. It's not all hardcore gamers that want the tons of strategy. There are also gamers that want a simple play style. There are ones that ask for, they want to do autoplay. And so this game is going to have a big challenge in catering to all those different groups without alienating any one of them. Some of that's going to be difficult. So blah, 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 you get construction skills with, acquiring passive skills, blah, 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 blah. Ultimately leading to powerful monster skills and divine skills. Divine skills are the super OP ones. Those ones are crazy. Blah, 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 the character deck. So this is where 25 unique card abilities, over 100 shared cards and abilities. So this is where 25 unique card abilities, they're exaggerating a little bit. You have 4 starter cards and 4 upgrade cards. And of that, the 4th starter card and the first 3 upgrade cards have 5 epiphany versions. So that's 20 epiphany versions and then 8 original cards. That's 28 cards for each character. And then you also have your ego skill, which can kind of count as a card. So that's 29 cards minimum for a character. Some characters like Cassius or Kayron, or a couple characters have a couple extra cards, or the bullets. I guess Veronica has 4. So yeah, you're probably in the low 30s for kind of the high end, and then at least 29 minimum. I think 25 is a little bit of an exaggeration because a lot of the epiphanies are just better versions of the original card, but many do make for different play styles. Some change them from attacks to upgrades and skills to upgrades, etc. So 25, again, they're exaggerating a little bit. They exaggerate a little bit with the animation as well, where they're like, oh, there's like 12 billion different animations. Like, okay, you have 2 big ones, and you have like 6 or 7 like little animations. Let's not exaggerate, but okay, so fine. It's marketing. I get it. They developed these unit engine, yes, blah, blah, blah. You point out that Chaos Dreamland, it feels like I'm reading Kirby's Dreamland here, centers on a horror sci-fi concept. We knew that, but they, blah, blah, blah. It does align with the mainstream market's softer aesthetics. Blah, blah. They want the players to experience death, and they have to manage the mental state, and they talk about how you can recover. There's 2 ways. We know this from the closed beta test. There's one way, psychological counseling, which is basically you can tell the character to calm down, and they keep all the save states, all the different runs that you've successfully finished. You get to keep all that data, but that does cost one of a daily counseling resource that is also used to take characters on dates and raise affection with them. So you get 3 of those a day, and early game, at least, it's going to be crucial for increasing characters' affection and grinding to get those numbers up. So it's a decision that if you want to gimp your progression a little bit to keep a really good save, or you can do the alternate method, which is a simple memory wipe that costs a little bit of whatever the brace resource, like credits or whatever. It's not super expensive. In that case, you lose your save data. So those are your 2 options there. A demonstration featuring the character Mei Lin, showcase, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's cool. Mei Lin is getting her ego skills getting reworked. We know that. It was bugged. It did not do what the card description did. So yeah, new version. Blah, blah, blah. There's some later game dungeons, Dimensional Dawn, Dimensional Dusk, and the game system designed to combat chaos, featuring anti-chaos AI. Okay, so yeah, roguelike content. We know all this. Okay, then the Q&A. What is the core enjoyment? So first, I believe it comes from the dopamine rush, blah, blah, blah. with nearly infinite deck construction. Again, exaggerating a little bit, but there are many play styles that each character has, and that's what's super exciting. Players can save their unique gameplay styles. I think this is a deep and getting a certain Epiphany card, or especially a certain Divine card, which is an ultra upgraded version of a Divinity card, or sorry, ultra upgraded version of an Epiphany card. You can unlock new playstyles. A character can have a supportive element for another character, and I'll list a couple examples here. Sometimes it's simply about enjoying the roguelike mode, and that's what I see myself doing as well. With gacha games, as always, there's going to be some limitation to how much you can progress each day, but the roguelike mode, as long as you can play that seems super fun. It's about discovering new ideas or puzzles. I often like in this process just assembling Lego blocks. Okay, and then they talk about Epic 7, which I have never played before. So how are you going to balance Epic 7 versus Chaos Dreamland? Are you going to give players as much free to play? Okay, so here, thank you for the question. So Epic 7 is a PvP strategy game. Competition. Chaos Dreamland, again, Chaos Zero Nightmare, is primarily a PvE focused deep strategy game, and this is PvE Weiju. This is primarily. This is not exclusively. So if you're a PvP coper, rejoice. You might get some element of PvP still. I think the hope is still alive. They did not say exclusively. They did not say only or purely. They said primarily. So, but they do mention these two extreme games can provide different experiences. Blah blah blah. They're gonna adjust. Okay, and then they mentioned they're gonna adjust the Epic 7 content to keep up with the current trends. I'm not sure what that means, but they say they don't want to have players spend too much excessive time, and they're hoping that if you like both of those games, some days you can play one more, some days you can play the other more, and that you're not required to spend an hour on both of them daily to keep up with daily. So basically what I'm hoping that means is that once you've kind of got into Chaos Zero Nightmare quite a bit, it's not like you have to play for an hour each day, and that you can the update or the upkeep of your account is relatively minimal, which is the way most gacha games go, that they release new events and new content that you can explore for a little bit and engage with as much as you want, but that as far as like keeping your account fresh and up to date, it isn't a huge time sink, because gacha games are not usually about that, although of course it differs from gacha game to gacha game. And they say the game designed as a free-to-play model, they want you to be able to engage with and experience most of the content, if not all of it, as free to play. And so they say the purpose of payments is not to unlock characters entirely, but rather to get more diverse gameplay through payments. Okay, so I get that. So they want the gameplay to be beatable as free to play, but there are certain things, like certain characters just go absolutely bonkers with some of the higher dupes, and there's definitely advantages. So I wouldn't even describe it as more diverse gameplay. It's just better gameplay. Like your character is just more broken, and of course the question is like, how necessary is that brokenness compared to the challenge and difficulty that you're facing? So but the cool thing is they say initially we plan to offer about 200 draws worth of resources, and I don't think, let me check here if they add anything. Where's my 200? Where's my 200? 200 提供约200抽卡资源. Yeah, so they don't say what type of poll this is. This might be standard draws. This might be a mix of standard and limited, and they're gonna offer about that so people can pull for desired heroes at launch. This will not be limited to the initial release. Okay, so they're gonna try to be very generous at the beginning, and I'm assuming most of this is standard, and I'm also assuming most of this is not accessible through re-rolling. That this would be like playing for a couple days, logging in every day over the course of the week, all that normal stuff. So that it's not like you can get 200 draws in a re-roll. We'll probably get more like 50 or so. I'm just making up numbers, but for a reroll if you want to pull your favorite character or something. But they are offering quite a bit to start off. That's more than most. They're considering 3 aspects with the Taiwanese users: localization within the game. Although we already support Chinese, we received feedback about quality issues. So the Chinese had similar issues to English, which is that cards made no sense. The keywords were not consistent. In some cases, as people were discussing earlier in the Discord, like, what the heck is the difference between the two cards? It is the same card. Like the localization just failed. I guess it may be encouraging it wasn't done by AI, although AI probably would have done a better job. So second, we want to build the IP together with users beyond in-game content, blah, 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 more through platforms. Yeah, we support player-generated content. Okay, you can always support me. I applied to be a content creator over a month ago. We're still waiting. The game is based on a horror sci-fi concept. How intense is the horror? Okay, and this was interesting for me to read. The game features fatal performances. We have designed a variety of character death representations. If we directly present internal organs or bloody scenes, players might feel repulsed. So we express these elements metaphorically through animation and skills. I'm really happy to read this. I know some players were talking about how the death animations were not quite what they wanted. They want something more gory. That's not my jam. Like if I see that internal stuff, if I see blood, it repulses me. I'm that kind of person. I'm not a huge like horror game genre person. I don't want to see the bloody gore. That's not my style. So I'm really happy to read this. I know this may be disappointing to other players, but this is kind of the limit for me. I think, you know, there was like the monster eating the other monster in the tutorial. That was kind of cool. That's more my jam. But if they do anything too crazy, I would probably not play the game. So I'm really happy to read this. Not too much to learn from here, except that one, the PvP dream is not dead 100%. It's like 99% dead. Two, they are trying to make the game free to play friendly. I don't know if that's the case. Three, they're supposedly giving you 200 pulls. Right at the beginning, again, that's probably mostly going to be standard pulls. I doubt they're going to make, you know, half of that or more limited pulls. That would be very, very rare. And then, yeah, I think aside from that, this is pretty standard stuff. So let me know in the comments what you think. I think the most interesting thing is the 200 pulls. That's really good for a release of the game. Again, coming up in just under 3 weeks. So if you haven't pre-registered already, please do that. And yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.